Well, it has been a comprehensive win for the India women's team. Nearly 50 days after becoming the ODI World Cup champions, they have now given a big statement of intent in their preparation for the T20 World Cup that will be played in England in June 2026. And it begins with the 5 match T20I series that India will be playing against Sri Lanka. Now, there are plenty of things which many people were focused upon, but the one disappointing aspect was the crowd in Vizag. I mean, we all thought that perhaps with the World Cup success, India would see lots of crowds coming in for women's matches. But sadly, at the ADA VDCA Stadium, most of the stands were empty. There was a sparse spreading of the population inside the stadium. One particular stand was totally full. But aside from all of that, the India women's team have given a big statement by thrashing Sri Lanka by 8 wickets in the first T20I 50 days after becoming the world champions. Now, in this match, you could see that there was some rustiness in the India women's team because when you look at it, the catches were dropped. Look at the number of catches that Sri Charani dropped. Look at the number of catches that Smriti Mandana dropped. Look at the number of catches that Arundhati Reddy dropped. How many catches were dropped off the bowling today? The fielding was really not up to the mark today. But Kranti God's hostile spell combined with Deepthi Sharma's economical spell ensured that India always were in control. And remember, in this rivalry, Sri Lanka versus India, it was 20-5. When you have to look at the T20 encounters, India won 20 out of the 25 encounters against Sri Lanka, so they are always expected to dominate in more ways than one. So, when you look at the catching, that is the one area of concern that Amol Muzumdar and the rest of the team management will be like wondering that yes, you have to shape up in that. Because in the T20 format, fielding is equally important when you have to look at it. Vaishnavi also bowled well, and because of that, Sri Charani, all the others, Deepthi Sharma, the star of the final in that Women's World Cup, ensured that she was one of the key players. One for 20, but she bowled a maiden as well. Sri Lanka tried with Harshita Samaravikrama and everybody and Chamari Attapattu all trying to ensure that they got a good start. But unfortunately, it was not meant to be, and Sri Lanka just about managed 121 for 6. In response, India were always in control of the chase despite Shefali Verma falling very cheaply. Jemimah Rodrigues and Smriti Mandana both combined to ensure that they were well on course. Jemimah was the aggressor and she was in total control. She looked in fluid touch throughout the entire knock. But Smriti Mandana looked a bit scratchy in a knock of 25 of 25. She did hit some boundaries, but the timing looked to be a bit off. She really did not look in rhythm. Remember, a lot of attention was on Smriti Mandana at this point in time because of what had happened after the World Cup. Unfortunately, the personal issues that had impacted her and all, whether she would be in the proper frame of mind heading into this game, well, early days, but then she looked a bit scratchy in the first innings in the first outing that she had. So that is why looking at the way how Mandana progressed 25 of 25, it was a bit worrisome. But then remember, lot more games to come, and because of that, 4 more games in this. But Jemimah Rodrigues, she used the sweep well, she used the late cut well, inside out shots, and that is why her brilliant 50 combined with a rather subdued knock from Harmanpreet Kaur has ensured that India have started their Mission 2026 T20 World Cup in grand style with a clinical 8 wicket win against Sri Lanka. Now, what were the milestones that were achieved in this particular match? Smriti Mandana, when she made 25, she went past 4,000 runs. That was one major thing. And Harmanpreet Kaur today became only the second women's player to play 350 international games. The first being Susie Bates. So India have once again, when you look at it in this series, they'll be looking to make a big statement because when you enter 2026, you got a tour of Australia coming up, and then you would want to ensure that you play well in the T20 World Cup because India may have won the World Cup. That was one list which was ticked off, but they will now want to win the T20 World Cup in June in England. So that's why it's a big, big achievement that they have done. So yes, India are kind of ending 2025 on a high. The second T20I is on December 23rd at Vizag. After that, they will move to some of the venues by which we can see if India can sweep Sri Lanka, can they make more progress. They will have to tighten up on the fielding, and that's why this is going to be very interesting. So India have taken a 1-0 lead in the series with an 8-wicket win in Vizag, with Jemimah Rodrigues scoring a brilliant 50, and fielding also, she was top notch. The rest of the fielders really have to look up to Jemimah Rodrigues as to how she approaches the fielding thing in that sense. Priyanshu saying Vaishnavi is a good talent. If I'm correct, she's unsold in the WPL, right? I think she's part of one team, Priyanshu. I'm not so sure. Top of my head, I can't recall, but I think she is part of. She was there in the T20 Under 19 World Cup. She was one of the stars in that, Vaishnavi. So that's why she. You are right. I think she might be unsold in that. Ashish, do you think the India women's team is even 10% of men's team in terms of popularity, viewership, and ticket selling? Look, if a World Cup win cannot help you boost the popularity of the sport in the country, then I don't know what will. This clearly boils down to the spectator interest at this point in time. Now, you cannot conveniently say that, oh, we are the kings, we can decide what we need to do. No. If you want to believe in holistic sports, support even the women's team as well. I know that it is a tall task. If you win the World Cup, the popularity should be there. So, what do you do at this point in time? And first Indian men cricket to make 4,000 T20s weekend. First woman is SM18, Priyanshu. Indeed, it is. And I will not take things about the men's cricket here, Anshu Mishra. Please try and understand that. Yeah, sportsman. Vaishnavi is not part of WPL. Yeah, indeed, correct. She's not part of the WPL. She came through on the back of some wonderful performances in the Under 19 World Cup at this point in time. And when you look at it, Sunil Mathur, that's not for us to decide. You'll have to ask the relevant authorities for this demand that you've got. So, in that sense, it is a big thing. So, yes, India made a big statement of intent. Jemimah also completed 500 runs in T20Is versus Sri Lanka. But the disappointing aspect was the crowd. Very few people turned up in. One particular stand was full, but the rest of the stadium was empty, virtually empty. One hopes that we see a better crowd in the second T20, but that is on a weekday. This was a weekend. Why couldn't they have come in big numbers? Despite winning the ODI World Cup. That is something which the fans will have to answer. Final question, sportsman, this T20 team is replica of ODI team. What else we need to add to our T20 armory before the T20 World Cup? Firstly, you have to get your fielding correct, my friend, sportsman. You have to ensure that you field well. If you don't field well, the T20 World Cup hopes are all but gone. So thank you so much, folks, for joining us for this live update. Subscribe to Sports Today for all the latest news and analysis. And Ashnik, I wish I had an answer to that. Bye-bye.